Lawyer John Khosravi, thank you for joining us today. We're going to do our regular Q&A that we've been doing for weeks, over a year now. The only difference is this is the first one we're doing at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Usually it's 5 p.m., but I thought I'd make it a little later for those who might not be able to make it after work at 5 p.m. So we push it back a little bit to 6 p.m. to accommodate more people. But we have an audience from across the world, so we have people at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. every time watching us, so it's a great pleasure to come and speak with y'all. What we do is we get your questions here. If you're on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, there's multiple YouTube pages, multiple Facebook pages, but we just take your questions and give general legal guidance. It's not individualized kind of stuff. You need to set up a private consultation for that. But I do offer pro bono free 15-minute video consultations for raffle winners, and how you do that is if you're watching the live show, you just like, subscribe where you're at, and you write consultation as a comment, and then my great assistant Katrina will name one person in every 10 minutes, so I'll have 3 of them who has the ability to schedule a consultation. I'll give guidance on it when you win. So just stay tuned, watch, like, subscribe, say consultation, and we'll get that raffle situation in. And before we start, I want to remind people, if you're doing a marriage case, a marriage kind of green card or fiance case, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, the best place to start is to download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, a free ebook I have. I wrote 40+ pages. That's really going to help you out. It'll blow your mind that this is out there for free. Just go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, that's marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and download the free ebook, and you'll really enjoy it. I think you'll get a kick out of it. But with that, let's get it started. A petition is typically a family petition when a family member who is a green card holder or citizen applies for another family member, and those could take a long time sometimes. It could be fast, it could be slow. You should check the regular processing times on USCIS.gov to see what they kind of say, but everything's delayed. So when it comes to removal of conditions, we had a question about that right now. Jordan asked, how long does the removal of conditions take to get approved to get a 10-year green card? And so on average, it takes between 6 months and 2 years for the I-751 removal of conditions to be approved. So that's a long gap period of time. Like, how is it that big? It just is. I have cases done after 6 months. I have cases done after 2 years. It's just an unfortunate situation where these cases are taking forever, especially the removal of conditions. And so in the meantime, a lot of times, if my clients, if they're married to U.S. citizens, they just apply for U.S. citizenship, and pretty much altogether it gets done, and they become citizens eventually. So this delay is really serious. I'm packed with work, but one of my goals is to really challenge the government and get support behind this, because it's really hard on people to be waiting for removal conditions to be approved. So I'm with you. I hear you. What's going on? So any other questions or anything like that? All right, Raincast Dogs again. Hi, good to see you. Who else? Selena says hi. Selena is mad. A lot of regulars, a lot of new people. Thank you all for joining. We have a question from Shoop. Says, why does it take so long for I-751? Well, the reason why the removal of conditions for I-751 takes so long is because the government does not give it priority. Based on what they said, they give citizenship #1 priority, citizenship cases, and then I-130 petitions, and then last removal of conditions, I-751. Because they say the I-751, you can still live in the United States, you get an automatic extension that gives you travel permission back and forth. So in their opinion, they're like, well, you got what you need, you're a resident, just relax and we'll get to you when we get to you. That's literally what the official position is of the government on this. They've said it in the Ombudsman's report that comes out multiple times. But we got to change that, because it's very disruptive when the I-751 takes this long. Some couples are not, in a good relationship, it's falling apart, but they stay together because of it. That's not healthy. Some people waiting 18 months plus, and after 18 months, they have to get a new extension. That's very difficult to get. Sometimes they want to get a home mortgage loan, and the bank will not accept that as proof of residency. And the list goes on. There's a lot of different stuff I've seen, troubles that people have with the I-751, but that's just the situation that we have. The best catch, Sharu asks, if I stay with a visa C or D, can I apply for a green card? Typically, if you enter with a C or D kind of status, C or D are usually crew members coming to work on like a plane or a boat or something like that. There is a specific part of the adjustment of status of the green card application statute in the United States. If you're applying for a green card in the US, that says you cannot apply for adjustment of status with CRD with minor exceptions. So we have to see whether those minor exceptions apply to you. I mean, you can start the I-130 process, but you'll eventually need to go to the embassy interview. And if you have any violations or something like that, it becomes problematic. So you should really consult with an immigration attorney. But most of the time, the CRD, you cannot adjust status in the US. You have to do consular processing, and if you overstay your CRD, that becomes an issue. So if you have this kind of stuff, definitely the way to go is to consult with an immigration attorney in private. But thank you for the question. D asks, can I travel on advanced parole adjustment of status of marriage if I overstayed by 10 days when I filed? Okay, so this is general legal advice, not individual legal guidance, but generally a person can travel with advanced parole if they've overstayed. They've said this in a BI decision or something like that. So they have to go by that. And now some immigration lawyers will say no, and some immigration lawyers will not file for advanced parole if you have a green card case pending, if you've been out of status or something like that, because they're afraid they won't let you in. I've never seen that happen. I've talked with the Border Protection. They've said it's okay, but it's case-by-case basis. For example, if you had any arrest history or convictions or something like that, or some serious criminal history, no, I would not recommend you to travel. But being a clear history, I don't know your particular case, so I can't advise you, but I've never stopped my clients from traveling under these circumstances. Do I prefer they don't? Yeah, I would say if it's an emergency travel, because at the end of the day, if you leave, we don't know what's going to happen. They might shut down the borders, they'll pass a new COVID rule, this and that. So it's not worth going unless it's really a family or financial emergency that's requiring you to leave. I typically recommend my clients do not leave, but generally, again, not individual legal guidance, generally, even if you overstayed your visa, advanced parole is usable. You go and come back. Unless you have any criminal history or issues with your background, it's normally not a problem, but I can't say that specifically for your case, and some risk always exists. But thank you for your question. Muhammad asks, hi, marriage interview done, and it's been almost 40 days, no decision, no RFE. Is this a bad sign? What should we expect? Thank you so much. Well, it's not a good sign necessarily. I mean, it could just be the officers just forgot about it, or they're getting their stuff together, but typically 4 days is a long time. You could try writing them a letter to see what's going on, but I would need to see what happened at the interview, what kind of interaction you had with them. I've had people say, oh, we had a great interview, and then they get denied. So your perception of it might be different from the way I would perceive it, but I want to get to know exactly what happened, what kind of questions were asked. So I can't tell you necessarily it's a bad sign. It's not good, you want it done. Typically it doesn't take that long, but it's possible that everything's fine. They're just taking a while. So I just don't have enough information to give you guidance on that, but thank you for your question. About Golf Logs asks, I've been working until now and I filed my taxes every year since I started working. Should I bring my tax return to show the officer on my interview, adjustment through marriage? No, your tax return by itself is not needed. If you're married, you may have had to file married filing jointly, but your tax history is not something that matters for a green card case, a marriage green card case. Now, hopefully, I don't want to get too much into a lot of stuff. You should always consult an attorney in private because there's a lot more stuff we could talk about because your case might be unique and different. So this is all general advice, general guidance, not advice individually. But overall, the applicant normally doesn't need to bring their tax returns, but whether you need to, I don't know. I need more information. Mo asks, for adjustment of status through marriage with a petitioner U.S. citizen who has been unemployed for over a year, can he use his rental income without providing mortgage info? No, if you're gonna, I mean, if he can, if he meets the guidelines, just a few $1,000, can we include the beneficiary's savings as an asset? Mo, that's a super detailed question I can't answer here. I need to see the tax returns for your petitioner that's filing for you. I need to see how much they're actually making and all this kind of stuff. So I would need to see the tax returns and the bank statements to be able to answer that question. It's just too detailed. So, email my office, schedule a consultation, and we can have a full consultation to discuss all that. But thank you for the question. When you're approved for an EB-1, EB-1 is typically, if it's the kind they have here, it's extraordinary ability. You're one of the top people in your field. There's other types of EB-1 for professors and researchers and multinational executives and managers, but it's probably typically EB-1 is extraordinary ability. So you think like Olympics or something like that, people who win gold medals. And ask, when you're approved for the EB-1 and allowed to file for adjustment of status while on an O-1 or P-1, when does non-immigrant status terminate? Upon approval of adjustment of status, I applied for EAD-AP but afraid to depart the U.S. So I don't necessarily be afraid to leave the U.S. The non-immigrant status, it ends when either you get your green card or the natural I-94 period, the timeline you have on your O-1 or P-1 expires. So, I mean, there's people on student visas and do a marriage case, for example, and the marriage case doesn't get approved, they can remain on that student visa technically. Now, whether USCIS could go undo it itself, that's possible, but you remain on the underlying status if you have it until it expires. But if you leave on an advanced parole and come back in with advanced parole, that invalidates the status and you're in the United States as a parolee with an adjustment case pending. So that's that. Can my green card holding wife apply for a B1, B2 visa while the I-130 is pending? If your wife is an LPR resident, why would they file for a tourist visa? I think you mean like, can the foreign spouse apply for a B1, B2 visa? I've done a lot of videos on this. You're watching on YouTube. Check out the history on the JQK Law clips page. We have clips on this too. But it is possible to apply for one, whether the embassy is actually going to approve a B1, B2, which is a tourist visa, while you have a U.S. spouse, U.S. resident spouse, and an I-130 pending. Well, that's going to be up to the embassy and how much they trust that you're only coming to the United States temporarily, not with the intent to stay here, but we'll go back for consular processing. So it depends on the embassy. I'm not optimistic, but you could always give it a shot and see what happens. 29 Super C follows up. I saw today that according to the August 2021 NVC Backlog Report, it has lessened somewhat to 513,000 versus 530,000 in July backlog. Well, that's great. Good news. I didn't see it. The National Visa Center has a huge backlog of cases that are supposed to go to their embassy interview. Unfortunately, that number has risen to 500,000 plus. But as 29 Super C is telling me, they said last month it was 532,000 cases. Now it's 513,000 cases. So instead of growing, it's very slightly coming down. Hey, anything in that direction is good for me, but hopefully it goes by much faster. 500,000 is a lot. Usually there's like 50,000, so it's like 10 times the amount as usual. And that's why all these questions about when my embassy interview is going to happen are coming. There's 500,000 cases, 500,000 cases stuck. So when is your case going to come? It's impossible for me to answer that kind of stuff. But thank you for that statistic, 29 Super C. I appreciate it. Can I get married in the United States while they're on a tourist visa or the visa waiver program? Can I stay there after marriage? Well, there's a lot to talk about. You should download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. For this question, it depends on what your intent was when you came, what your background is, what the petitioner's financial background is, if you have any arrests, your criminal history, if the petitioner, your U.S. person you're married to, is a citizen or a green card holder. There's just a lot going on in Tech Solutions. So this is something, first download the ebook, but then schedule a private consultation we talked about. There's too many variables for me to be able to answer that here. Maybe possible, a lot of people do it like this, but I would need to see what's going on first. I received my EAD card, my work permit card. It has no fingerprints available, though I gave the fingerprints. Should I worry about it? No, Sri. What happens is sometimes I've seen this on employment, even on the green card and on the EAD's work permit, even though you gave your fingerprints, on the part on the card that would have your fingerprint, like a copy of it, it just says no fingerprints available. I've never seen that be an issue. It is weird that they say that. I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes that happens, but fortunately, I never see it be a problem, so you don't have to worry about that. Hi, I applied for citizenship on 2020 and in 2020, last 7 months, or actually last year. They sent me a notice that they're working on my case. Yeah, these cases take a while, so I don't know what's exactly happened with your case, but it's good that you have a receipt number. Other than that, you usually have to wait. If it goes, 2022 or something like that, then you should kind of get into it and see what's going on. To see if it's, it's a problem that you got to worry about. But now my residence card is expired. I'm very concerned. That itself is nothing to be concerned about. Now, if you need proof for work or for, travel or something like that, you're going to have to file a Form I-90 probably, depending on when you filed the citizenship application relative to how much time was on your green card and how your local office deals with it. But you could potentially get a temporary green card stamp if it's appropriate, if you fall within the parameters, or just do an I-90 or green card renewal in the meantime. And once you do that, you get an automatic 1-year extension that holds you over. It's not something to be concerned about. So far, everything seems pretty typical. So I wouldn't worry about it, but I need to review your individual case first to see what's going on. Now I have marriage cases getting done in 3 months. I have citizenship cases getting done in 3 months. I've had I-130 petitions get done in 3 months. So that's great, but at the same time, all those case types, I've had them take 1.5 years, 2 years. So it's not something to worry about. It is worrisome that the government is just doing this. It's like, it's kind of ridiculous that they're taking this much time to do something like that. So that's something really that has to be challenged, and hopefully this administration will get to it. But on a personal, individually, most of the time, it's not about you, it's more about them. And that's just a situation we have. Depending on the case, sometimes we could just push it and try to get an expedite request or something through, or complain so much. But I have cases once in a while, we do everything. We just spend hours and hours complaining and contacting this person and contacting that person, and then, you know, just nothing happens. So that's the name of the game, is waiting, and hopefully, you know, USCIS will hire more, get some funding, and to just be more open to making better systems so that this all, you know, goes a little faster, because it does take a long time. Now, you know, one of the worst places that takes a long time is with the student visas when you are in the U.S. on some other status. So, for example, you're here on a tourist visa, you decide to go to school here, and you have to do change of status from a B2, normally a B2 tourist visa, to an F1 student visa. And that process could take 6 months, a year for the transfer to be approved by USCIS, and by that time, the school semester came and went. And that creates a lot of issues because you have to get approved close to the time when school starts. And one thing USCIS required up until like a week or two ago, which a lot of people didn't know about, is while the student visa change of status case is pending, every 6 months you have to keep paying and filing new tourist visa extensions to hold you over, which is crazy. But they took away that rule. It's still not clear how they're going to process and everything, but it's a big mess, very big mess. So that's the thing, that's the way it goes. I did a K1 visa, but it was more than 2 years and 2 months ago since I last see my fiance. So USCIS sent me an RFE, can I still get approved? No, you're gonna get denied. When you submit for I-129F, you must have seen the fiance within the last 2 years. If you filed it and it's been more than 2 years, that's a denial, so you're gonna have to refile it. You go see each other first and refile. And this is the kind of thing, like people ask me, do I need to have an immigration attorney? You don't have to, but this is just such a basic mistake that you just wasted so much time and so much money at this point, where I could just told you in a consultation that no, that's not the thing to do. Or you could have read it in my ebook, marriageimmigrationlaw.com, Download the Marriage Green Card Guide, and not have to deal with something like this and waste it and be separated from your fiance for so long. So if when you file the case it was more than 2 years, unless you're doing a waiver request, an exemption from the 2-year meeting requirement, because fiance visas have a rule that says before you can apply for a fiance visa, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have to have seen your fiance at least once physically in the last 2 years. And there's exemptions for it. Some people have, religious reasons where they can't see the person, or there might be some other extreme circumstances. So unless you could prove some sort of really extreme circumstance, it's not going to happen, and you should go see each other and refile. Your title name is Gaza 1415. I'm assuming maybe if they're in Palestine or in the Palestinian territory, it's going to be really hard to travel. It is, so I don't know how you're going to deal with that. Even if the I-129F is approved, having your fiance get to the embassy in Jerusalem to do the interview is going to be a big headache. So you have a lot of hurdles in front of you, but that's the situation. Do you think budget reconciliation passed in the House and Senate will make cases go by faster despite the pandemic? So in Congress, they're maybe passing some immigration rules. I don't think they're probably going to do anything. Probably nothing's going to get passed for immigration portion of it. And if it does, it's not something that can make it go faster. There's a backlog and this bureaucracy, so I don't think it's going to do anything now. And about Golf Vlog says, I don't have vaccination records for I-693. Do I have to take all the vaccines that USCIS required again? You do. So Form I-693 is if you're filing for adjustment of status, a green card in the United States, and there's part of it is getting vaccines, and if you don't have your vaccine records, unfortunately, you'll have to do most of them again. There's ones like the flu shot. If you're in summer, you do it right now. You don't need to get it, but in the winter you do. But yeah, there's a requirement for the vaccines if you can. So sorry about that. About Golf Vlogs, you'll have to do it again. Thank you everyone for watching. We had a good bunch, a lot of good questions. I'll be back again next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, to take these, general educational kind of stuff questions live on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and this and that. And I have a page where I take clips of all the questions I answer here. There's hundreds of them now on JQK Clips, the YouTube page, JQK Law Clips. Check that out, or the Instagram page for JK Law. Actually, I put copies of my approval notices, so if you're wondering general estimates of timelines, my approval notices are there, along with a lot of videos and a lot of up-to-date information. Check it out at instagram.com/JQKLaw. And with that, God bless everyone. Be safe. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this educational video. We have a second channel with much more information as well at JQK Immigration Clips. Please check that out. Also, you'll find our social media site has a lot more videos, images, and information about the U.S. immigration process. Please check those out on the various social media websites.